content creator. My guest today is a woman on a mission. She helps others navigate massive career transitions. Join me in welcoming Christy Metcalf, business consultant and the co-founder of Two Smart Girls. How are you, Christy?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being my guest.
I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
It's my pleasure. So let's start. Okay, as you know, I'm a trailing spouse. I have to reinvent myself. Sometimes things work well and my set of skills are usable. Where am I? And sometimes it's not the case. My question to you, what is the first step for a woman who is in a crossroads and she doesn't know where to go? And she's asking, where am I?
Well, some women would say that you're really lucky that you do get to reinvent yourself every 3 years. I think that we get so laxed and somewhat lazy, and we call it defaulting, right? So, we sort of have this path that's designed for us, and many of us follow that path, sort of like it's just we're on this path and we're being guided. And, many of the women that we work with and we talk to, the path is they go to school, they go to university, and then they graduate, and then they get a job, and then they get married, and then they have kids. And like, these are the steps, the monumental steps that are supposed to happen. And then we get to a point where we have done that. We've sort of been in this cycle of where we check the boxes. We become a mother, we cook, we clean, we help with homework, we're there for our husbands, we move with our husbands. But somewhere along that path and that journey, we sort of lose a little bit of ourselves to where we're just going along instead of thinking about what it is that we really want. And then there's this culminating event. It could be that the kids are leaving the house. It could be that they're going off to university. Some monumental event happens to where you stop and you reflect and you look at what's behind you and then what's ahead of you. And you think, okay, I don't know where I'm going and I need to make a dramatic change. And usually those are the women that phone call from. And the first step is really to reconnect with that person that used to dream. I think that many times we lose the ability, or we're so caught up in doing and working that we lose the ability to really dream about what we want that next phase to look like. And step one is to sit down. We call it a treasure hunt, but to sit down and really reflect on all of these key pieces in your life and what has brought the most joy to you. Where did you feel most passion? What do you enjoy doing the most? Who do you like serving? And reconnect with that inner child that used to sit and dream of everything that she wanted to do. And I think that COVID has brought a really unique, interesting space in that it has allowed us to slow down a bit and stop the cycle of defaulting to really begin thinking about, what do I want to do in this next step, in this next phase, and how I can design what I want instead of defaulting to what I've always been doing.
That's wonderful. So what you're trying to say is just to take a deep breath.
A deep breath.
Regroup.
Yes.
And ask ourselves, what brings joy? What is the thing that I enjoyed most in my life? Probably this is my next career or my next business idea. Am I right?
Yes, absolutely. And I love that something that, was part of your life as far as moving every 30 years and figured out how to weave that together to reach an audience and this connection that we have with food and the passion around it. And you even said earlier when we were chatting, the sanity that it's brought to you during this whole pandemic, the fact that you can rely on that and is a bit of comfort. Go back to reconnect to what that looks like for each individual.
That's wonderful. So what are the baby steps? Now that I did this soul search, is there any questionnaire or quiz online or a test, even a personality test,
yes,
that a woman in that position would sign up for just to get answers? Because she's really discovering herself.
Right.
Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, the time perfect. So we write a blog week. And the blog last week was about 10 steps to designing your escape plan. And when I talk about the escape plan, it could be escaping from corporate life into entrepreneurship, but escaping from being a stay-at-home mom to being now a mom who's an empty nester, right? The escape plan looks whatever you're escaping from and going to. And these 10 steps that I'm going to provide for you, for your audience, they're really powerful. So, step one is to sit down and recognize where you are today and where you would like to be tomorrow. And we call that a gap, right? So what's missing and what are the stepping stones to get you to what that picture looks like? It's having conversations with your family about what this next step may look like for you, but also the impact that it will have on them as well. Because this is not, you are not, isolated in this decision on your own. It impacts other people and how they have functioned and have known you to this point. And just thinking about jobs, places, one of the things that we say is during COVID, while the how and the where of the work that you do may have changed, the who and the what you serve has remained the same. And I think that we get really caught up that, oh my gosh, everything has changed, but it hasn't changed. The purpose of your work has remained the same. It may look a little differently now with your kids at home, with the whole family working from home, but really your vision and your passion that is behind your work has not changed. The people that you want to connect with has not changed. The people that you want to serve has not changed at all. And so it takes a moment of just stepping back, and there are 10 steps to walk you through this process very systematically. You do the work on your own. And then obviously, if you need some help, you can reach out to us. But it really is a plan that we have used both for ourselves. Jess and I have used for ourselves in getting to a place of feeling stuck and moving towards the direction that we want to move in.
Well, we'll definitely include that link.
Okay.
So now, the very same woman that I'm talking about, and who wants to start a new career, probably she doesn't have a capital,
right?
Any sum to start with. So what are the free resources that a woman who is considering a career transition can rely on?
That's a great question. And we live in a technology-driven world now. There is information galore out there. If you were to do a Google search, we are not short of information or how to gain information. I think the real challenge comes down to the execution of it. We feel this need that we want to do something. We read an article, we get super excited about it, and then we're like, and we just sort of put it off. And one of the things to remember when we're talking about our support group and our family, many times we believe that group should be the supportive, the encourager, everything to take us to that next level.
Yes.
But these people are the people who know the old you, not the new you that you're becoming. Yes. And so there's a bit of a tug of war there, right? We feel like we can't ask for the resources. We feel that we can't put ourselves first. We feel that if we ask for what we want, it's pulling away from something for the entire family. And it's nothing more than seeing it as a basic fundamental of self-care. When you are investing in yourself and you are making yourself better, you are making yourself better for not only you, but your family, for your children, and for your community around you. And so it really is, you have to see it as an investment of what you are doing to contribute to yourself. And many of us have a hard time with investing in ourselves. We always think of all the other ways that we should be investing, either the time or the money. But it really comes down to looking specifically for the resources that you need out there. I know you and I both belong to a global networking event, and it's really important to align yourselves with women or a networking group that is where you are wanting to go and who you are becoming versus who you have been in the past.
Yes, definitely. Find your tribe.
Find your tribe all the time. It's amazing. These people don't know the old you. They don't know what you've done in the past. They don't know what you're capable of. They only see the person standing in front of them right now who's going forward, and they are so excited for you. And the people in our past, while we love them and we appreciate them for getting us to where we are today, they have no idea the person we're becoming in front of them. And that also brings a level of fear for them, right? They don't want you to get hurt. They don't want you to be disappointed. And really, most often when we talk to women, that is coming from their own personal place of fear and doubt in themselves. It has nothing to do with you.
Now, if I do a quick recap, I want to see the new me. And then I will go online to figure the free resources. And
Right.
then I will figure the why. Why am I doing this? Because why is the vision? And how
Right.
is the strategy? So if the vision is there, it's easy to figure out the strategy, not the other way around.
Right.
But what comes next, and this is something that I personally experienced when I switched from diplomacy to food. And at the beginning of my food journey, I was full of self-doubts. Okay, I'm going to start a food blog, but I'm not sure I can do it. But there are plenty of food blogs out there. How can I set myself apart? I'm not even a native speaker. I'm not writing, if I decide to write in English, this is not even my native language. So many doubts. And then comes also, it could be the negativity, that comes from your surrounding. People are expecting you to find a job leveraging your foreign languages or your previous experience in finding a 9-to-5 job.
Right. And it's so hard. I would say the women that we work with, that is the number one detour or roadblock. And, when we talk about our life, 80% of it is mindset and 20% of it are what we call the nuts and bolts and the mechanics, right? So when you were talking about making that transition and that leap in your own life and your own business, you could go to school and you could learn what you needed to learn and you could take a class, but you rarely take a class for self-doubt or for thinking that you're not enough or you're not smart enough or you don't know the language. Like all of that is all rooted in our fears up in our head. And when we work on that, when we have a process that we really break down, we make it very easy for women to see the negative thoughts and the results that they're getting from those negative thoughts. And so it becomes a very clear system that we help them use so that, they can look at the paper, just like going to a class and say, oh, well, I realize why I'm not getting the results that I absolutely do. But it is a constant struggle, even for those who are successful. I was reading an article last year, and Jennifer Lopez, who we think is beautiful and sexy and so talented, right? She did a movie. It was either last year or 2 years ago. Hustle, and she was a stripper in the movie, and she talked about before she went on to film the first scene, the self-doubt that she had. Am I skinny enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I talented enough? What will people think of me when they see me in this role? And it really did sort of level set for me that this woman who we would dream of achieving the status, right? The beauty, the talent, the life, even her, she deals with the mental struggles of feeling like she's good enough. And I think part of it is recognizing that is just a part of where we are and pushing through to the other side. One of the words that I love using when we do our work is the word yet. So Y-E-T, yet. So people will say, women will say, well, I don't know how to take, photography for food. And we say, not yet, right? Or I don't know how to speak a certain language. You don't know yet because you haven't taken a class, you haven't learned, you haven't studied. We really put expectations on ourselves that are so unrealistic that many times we can't even reach our own level of expectation because of how high we've set them. And I heard someone say it this week, we are perfectly imperfect. And that is okay to be in that spot. So, I was listening to a podcast this week and the woman said, I did not know how to apply makeup to do videos online. So I took a class and I was like, that's brilliant. How many of us, we just sort of say, I don't know how to do that. And then we diminish ourselves because we don't know how to do something instead of saying there are resources out there to help me figure out how to do this. And then I will be better at it than I am today.
I totally agree. I think it's all about breaking down your dream into small steps. Baby step every day. Nothing is more impactful than a baby step every day until you get to your destination. And
That's
I
right.
think what helped, and it helped me personally, is visualizing.
Mm-hmm.
Visualizing the new you. When our surrounding is not encouraging enough, when we are overwhelmed with the amount of resources. I remember the first photography a class that I took. Oh my God, I just panicked. It's a whole technology that I'm unaware of. It seems
Right.
like a new world to me. But you know what? You took the first step, don't look back.
That's
Keep
right.
going, keep going, keep going. This is the only way.
And I love that you said, you know, it's not, this is not where you're going to stay,
Yes,
right? There's light at the end of the tunnel and there's this next step. And I think too many times we just look at where we are today and we're like, this is it. But if you, our memories are so short, by the way, and they're like a Rolodex, but what we think of as where we are today is where we're going to be. When we look at the whole history of the jobs that you've had and what you've learned, and even your photos of where they started, you know, maybe 8 years ago to where they are today, and we tend not to look back that far, but when we look back that far, and we look back, oh my gosh, I am amazing, right? Look at what you've learned and what you've done and how you've just overcome adversity and moving every 3 years. And it's when you take that long look back, and that's what we do with women. We have them go deeper than what they're doing today to look at the whole picture. And when they do that, they're like, I'm incredible. Like there's really not anything I couldn't figure out or I couldn't accomplish. And that is what we want, right? You have to feel confident in where you are today. We always say you can't run from something, it's running to something that's better. And so you have to be completely confident where you are today, what you've achieved today. You have to feel sure about that. And then we start moving forward, because that person that you've now become and you recognize and the power that she has will lead you to that next step.
and I think you mentioned something that is so smart. Of course, celebrating oneself, but also owning the present. That fortunately do blaming things on others. Oh,
Right.
they blame it on their kids. She had to stay at home because she has to take care of the kids, or on her husband who was far away working in a different country or had a very demanding job, so she couldn't pursue her career. I think one of the steps to move forward, stop blaming others. And
Yes,
just keep in mind that everything, good or bad, that happened to you was for your own good.
that's
And
right.
I believe if we think this way, there is no way we can go back.
No. Well, and we actually have a saying that everything that was supposed to happen happened exactly like it was supposed to. And
Yes,
that means, you know, we can't look back and take the good, we can't separate the good and the bad. It is all of it that's
yes.
made this beautiful masterpiece that's sitting here today. And how we have to look at it. You know, would change anything in our lives? Well, those critical, maybe small pieces that were uncomfortable or sad or we felt lonely in brought us to the place where we are today. And it is the whole picture, right? That's the beauty of life, is the whole picture brings you to where you are today, not just intricate pieces.
So we're telling uh, this woman, stop regretting,
Stop
stop
regretting.
blaming others,
That's
take
right.
baby steps, have your eyes on the new you, find your
Yeah.
tribe, right? And celebrate
Yes.
yourself. I
And
think
so,
it's very important. We, as women and moms, we tend to be so tough on ourselves.
mhm,
As you mentioned, we set our expectations very high.
we
But
do.
I strongly believe that stopping every now and then and celebrating our accomplishments, big or small,
That's
it
right.
makes it makes a huge difference.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, love. I think one of the most important things years ago was the love that we feel for ourselves. Right, is the amount of love that we can give to other people. And when I heard that statement, it was so powerful and it was so true. Right, so the amount of love that we feel for ourselves, for our accomplishments, for where we are, for the mistakes that we've made, for the person that we've become, will only be reflected amount of love that we can give to someone else. And I think that that is so important to remember that, right? You have to start with this place that I love, I have become today. the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful. But it really has brought me to where I am today. I'm here for this, and I am going to, move forward and share my journey and my voice with others.
That's lovely. I'm sure you met so many women, either at the beginning, the middle, or really at the peak of their success.
Right.
And my question is, how to sustain the pace? If there are 3 top things that every woman should do to maintain her productivity.
Well, I think the first thing critical that we work with people on are you have to have a plan, right? So if you wait until you're in the day, then you're always going to be reacting to whatever is coming your way. So really having a plan, yes, could the plan change? Could there be the unexpected? Always. But at least if you have the plan to begin with, you recognize what you have to get done. And with the plan, so that's step number 1. Step number 2 is, to really sit down and think about the 3 most important things that you have to finish today, because I think that we tend to overwhelm ourselves with our list, right? We have 18, 20 things impossible to get done. But what are the 3 things that are most important, could be personal and could be professional, that you need to finish by the end of the day, or there will be consequences associated with that? So that's step number 2. And then step number 3, I believe, is so important when you're talking about productivity at home, is you have to set boundaries. And that word is so scary for so many women, but it really is important. It's honoring yourself and what you need to do, and especially with our families being all together in home now. But it really is about setting boundaries around your work and what's important to you, and carving out those spaces so that you make sure that that's completed. It doesn't mean that you get 23 hours to yourself, but it does say realistically, sit down and think about what are the most important things today, and then carve out those boundaries. My kids know, there are certain times of the day when I'm on the phone that means no interruption at all. And we clearly define, unless there's blood, a broken bone, or a mass gunman in our home, there are no interruptions when I'm on these calls. And so I think by clearly defining that, then people around you will start to operate under those boundaries.
So I think you raised a very valid point, and I would love to discuss it, because you're a mom of 2 kids.
I am.
And a wife, and you're working from home. And a home-based business was always a dream, and envied by so many people. But now the reality is flipped on its head. So what do you do? Share with us your tips.
A big bottle of wine. It's always nice. No, I'm joking. Yeah, it's interesting because so many of us talk about, who have home offices and home businesses, we talk about summers being where, work and family sort of flips upside down. But we started this 3 months ago. And so, first of all, I think take a deep breath, like we've said throughout this entire interview, because you have to recognize that things have changed. And you're not going to operate the same way that you have operated in the past. You're not going to have alone time, and there are other people involved with it. So take a deep breath and recognize there is a change. I think for me, the most important part was, it really took the first 2 weeks of my kids being home with me and my family being all together to kind of figure out this new operating rhythm. That's what I call it. And this new system that we're going to work with. And so for me, that meant spending 30 minutes every night, the night before, really mapping out not only my day for my kids, because they had work online for school, but what my day looked like with their day, and then how that was going to merge together. And doing that at night before the day started really allowed me to holistically look at it before I was in the fire, and to anticipate what could be challenges, where I could have some space to check on how they were doing, and to allow them to see, okay, in this time, you can come and get me if you need me. And then my husband and I talked, you're on from 10 until 12 while I have calls, and then I can take over at 1 o'clock and help out. But it really was creating this new operating rhythm, this new working system that what was going to work for us. And that looks different for each family. Especially, you may have younger children. I have 10 and 12, so that looks a little bit older, more self-sufficient, but it really does. You have to create a system that works for you, and that is important. And if you just say, oh my gosh, I can't figure this out, then your days are going to reflect that. Your productivity is going to reflect that, and you're going to be left at the end of it saying, I didn't get anything accomplished this week. And you're going to feel very deflated, very defeated. And then spiraling in your head is going to start again about, I can't do this, I can't figure this out. And it really is just sitting down, taking some space and time and saying, what is going to give me the best system working tomorrow?
I'm honestly advising any mom who's watching us now, and she has very small kids, and she feels that her business plan is falling apart. Just to take a deep breath. It doesn't matter how little your child is. Start to instill in your child the respect for his parents' space and their dream and success. They have to understand that this is success of the entire family.
I think it's been a learning opportunity. And I also think there is a little bit of compassion on both sides. So, one of the things that our school was fantastic about was every morning we received a video with the school announcements and celebrating the birthdays and the prayers that they do to begin their school. And I got to participate in that, right? We would pull them up in the morning. That was sort of our routine. We would pull those announcements up first thing in the morning. We'd watch them together. We would say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. We would do that whole routine together. So I was able to see a little bit into their world that I never really was exposed to. And vice versa, I primarily work while they're at school during the day. So while we talk about work, they never really saw what I did. And I think allowing them to be a part of that and see what I do and the women that I talk to, and it gave them a sense that, wow, mom really does do great things, first of all, and they want me to be successful. I think that that's the most important thing. If you're going to work, this is going to impact your family, not just financially, but in all different ways, time, commitment. And I think it's important, especially, I have 2 girls, but especially to allow the girls to see that, mom is creating something amazing for the world, and they get excited about that and they want to be a part of that. And it's exactly what you said. It's a time of learning where we have to figure it out. It's a new way of operating, a new way of doing business. And then by the time this is all over with, we're going to say, oh, we have to change it and learn another system. So it really is. It just takes some time, but it takes being gentle with yourself as well. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to figure it all out. What works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. So just, take a deep breath and be gentle.
So everyone who is watching us now, this is what we should retain from that conversation. You find yourself in the middle of nowhere. You're happy with who you've become. Take a deep breath. Go online. Take one of those tests or questionnaires and try to do some soul search. Try to figure the new you and visualize who you would like to become. Mm-hmm. And then tap onto those various resources. Don't get overwhelmed. Just pick the best, the most suitable to your life, to your circumstances. Break it down to baby steps, a step every day, slowly but surely. Find your tribe. Try to join one of those groups online for women entrepreneurs, or paid or for free. Just surround yourself with people who have a similar dream, because people who are close to you probably won't really understand that transition that you're going through. And as you mentioned, they only know the old you, not the new you.
Right.
So, and then be gentle to yourself.
That's it.
That's it. And
that's it. That's the plan.
That's a plan.
Yes.
So, on that beautiful note, I really would like to thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very busy mom and a professional, but you've given us incredibly useful advice to all of us. Thank you so much, Christy. It has been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure to speak to your audience. And, one of the things that I will say just to wrap up is don't be afraid to ask for help. I think as women and as moms, we assume that we should know it all or we could figure it out. But women are so relational and are wanting to help each other. And there will always be someone who's just ahead of your journey. So never be afraid to reach out and ask for the help that you need, because it's there, right? And the only way that you're not going to get it is not to ask for it. So I would really encourage the people who are watching this right now to just find it within themselves to say, I need somebody to help hold me accountable, to help me walk on this path with me, to help me guide on these 10 steps or whatever it is, but it's there for them. And if that's us, that's fantastic. We have loads of resources that are free out there. And that really is our whole plan, is to try to nurture and provide the resources that women need to get them started well on that path. So
I'll make sure to include all of the resources that you will share with me below our video.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It was so good to see you today.